Savitar and the King of Ice by T.J.E. Hostetter. Prologue. The Coldest Day. Without fire there is no light, and those were the words that echoed through the mind of the one who rose up to battle evil. With the light in his heart and his will incorruptible, then the tyrant came to power. The hero made his journey to the kingdom of Beowulf. Beowulf, standing on the far east side of the known world, forged on hard work and ideas of King Derek, who wanted to build a kingdom that would outlive him and outlive his great-grandchildren. For the long days and the long nights of 17 years, the kingdom was built by iron and stone, and from the dedication of man, under King Derek's rule, a high castle rose, many villages formed, and as the story goes, prosperity the kingdom performed. For 7 generations of kings and knights, the kingdom of Beowulf stood, strong, righteous, as if crafted by God himself. But one day, fate took a cold turn. For not all were granted joy from the kingdom. For the outcast, the one who was so far different from humanity that he could not walk among normal men, his deformed face, his inability to understand, in self-exile from the kingdom where he tampered with forbidden arts. It was this one fateful day that storm clouds blacked out the sun, cold air froze the waters, the blizzards took hold, as the people of the kingdom watched in great horror as a frozen castle crafted only of blue ice rose from the ground and eclipsed the kingdom's own castle. Then the golems came, massive and destructive beings made only of the same blue ice, ravaging the kingdom. Buildings were destroyed, brave soldiers crushed, and King Garrett, the 5th great-grandson to King Derek, was overthrown. Beowulf was ruled by the King of Ice. For 7 years long, the age of the endless winter went on. The stranger, the people suffering in their homes where the never-ending winter's burning cold made life bane. The air made fire difficult to light and difficult to last. The ice would not allow crops to rise. The only food to be had was from traveling merchants, and was growing rarer with each month. The clouds blocked out the sun, like the flames they needed to burn. Hope was like the embers, for it they yearned, a memory they could not remember. But wandering the endless cold, a figure strode through the blizzard, clad in crimson and gold, his head and face covered by a hood and scarf, looking like a ranger. But his figure was strange. By the golden glow of his eyes, he was undaunted by the cold, and each step he took, the snow around his boots would melt, revealing the brown grass underneath. For 5 cycles of day and night, without a moment to stop, not sleeping, crossed the field of snow. Until the 6th dawn, Beowulf was in sight, with the castle of ice standing high, with its blue crystals and spikes in broad range, with not a human in sight. With each stride forward, the hooded figure felt the corruption. Taking his first step into Beowulf, the only light seen was the small dwindling fires in the homes. But the wanderer was not unnoticed, as the once King Garrett saw him through his window, and curiosity took hold as he gathered the warmest of his clothing, and went outside to see. He looked over the strange figure, and with all the kind tone, "'Tis not safe, noble wanderer, to be walking the streets alone, and on this day trouble will come past noon." The hooded figure looked upon the once great king, addressing him with all the politeness of a nobleman. From his unseen lips he replied, in a voice that seemed to echo with unseen power. I am not here to hide, for I have come to seek out the corruption of the Ice King and his sway over this land. I only ask for one piece of knowledge. What kinds of forces must I face wholeheartedly if I am to end this eternal winter? Garrett looked upon the man with shock. For 7 years, many brave men tried, and 7 years, many brave men died. The King of Ice, his power unmatched, his power over the land untouched. Why, must I ask? I can tell you have traveled far to battle this tyrant. Why do you seek his defeat? Why do you seek to overthrow him? 'Tis an honest question, replied the stranger. But you see, good sir, I possess a gift. For I am not human, yes, but for even my own kind, such a gift was unheard of. I've had it since birth, and I know not why or how I was blessed with these abilities. My mother told me that God chose me and that I must use them. It was then that I came to believe that I must use these powers to fight. So I am here to use them, to prove myself. I am here to battle evil. With a glance into the stranger's eyes, shining like gold and crimson fire, and the power that echoed through his voice, the continents of his unique armor, all drove Garrett to ask for the stranger's name. The stranger, with all the focus of a hunter, staring into Garrett's eyes. Savitar. As the name spoken was breathed into the air, Garrett felt a shift in the wind, rippling through the kingdom, and even then a small, very small, even if for a moment, gust from nowhere at all that was warm and not frozen. Garrett, with no more doubt. Come noon, the golems will arrive. But be warned, noble Savitar, they dwarf the tallest of men, and never tire. Be warned. And may God smile upon you. With a bow of his head, Garrett retreated back into his house, and Savitar, with only his courage, walked further into the streets until he found a place to sit and wait. The snow around his body, as he lowered himself to the ground, melted in an instant, revealing the cobblestone streets like they did 7 years ago. There he sat to the sound of people boarding up their doors and windows. As the people closed off their homes to the outside world, they saw Savitar. With curiosity and concern, the people watched from their homes, wondering who was this strange one, pondering why wasn't he on the run. Upon the turn of noon, a roar like an avalanche pierced the silence. Savitar rose to his feet as he saw 3 enormous spheres of snow and ice fly from the blue ice castle. Without fear or hesitation, Savitar walked towards the first sphere as it crashed into the earth. Rising from the crash, a golem, without emotion or thought, walked towards Savitar, towering over him, raising its fist. Savitar quickly raised his hand in the path of the golem's swing. As their fist and hand collided, the heartless golem, starting at its arm, with the sound echoing through the city, cracked and shattered. The people in their homes, shocked, as if they saw the work of God. Savitar, undaunted, unharmed, unshaken, lowered his golden, glowing hand and spoke. I am the beast of light, born to fight any evil in my sight. The echoes of the shatter summoned the 2 final golems to seek out Savitar. Upon finding him, they charged him like 2 massive bulls. With a mighty leap, Savitar was in the air, and with a quick lunge of his hands, lightning struck the 2 golems, reducing them to crystals. What happened next, none watching could predict, for Savitar, with a flip in the air, his cape took the form of a pair of bright glowing yellow wings. With a flap of his wings, he flew towards the castle, strong like thunder, fearsome as fire, to tear evil asunder. the beast of light. The cold castle's blue ice shined with a slight blue glow as the king of ice sat upon his throne, with his god-forsaken magics which kept the ice growing. But with a crash, Savitar entered through the ceiling, cratering the floor as his wings returned to cape. And Savitar looked into the eyes of the ice-cold tyrant. The king of ice rose from his throne, looking upon the warrior with his crimson and gold armor, his glowing eyes, and the ice that was melting around his feet. The king of ice felt the power of this being, speaking, "State thy name and thy purpose." "I am Savitar, the beast of light, and this winter, this evil, this darkness ends with fire and light." The king of ice laughed a wicked laugh, like the same the devil would bear. With a raise of his hands, ice and snow crept from the walls, bringing 3 new golems. Then he spoke to Savitar. "Very well, beast of light, prepare for battle." Savitar, summoning up from his bare hands a sword of bright burning fire, and with 3 strong and quick strikes, only dust of ice remained from the charging golems. And with full speed and charge, Savitar took a leap towards the tyrant. With a mighty slice, the sword of flame struck the king of ice. The king fell into the throne. A shift was felt through the air, and a wave of force shot from the castle. The ice collapsed. People started rushing outside as the sound of the falling castle was heard in the city, watching in shock as the castle cracked, broke, and started falling to the ground. At first, they started feeling hope, only for it to be shattered. As suddenly the earth started to shake, snow rose from the collapsing castle. All coming together rose a giant monster, the size of the once standing castle, with all the features of a demon and with blue ice for its body. The king of ice had transformed. The monster let out a roar that sent fear into everyone watching and listening. But just as hope seemed all but lost, from the falling ice, a bolt of light, at speed like that of Mercury, flew into the air, and from that bolt Savitar revealed his true draconic form, with wings shining like a sun, gold and crimson scales that looked like diamonds and rubies. The monster took a massive swing of his fists towards the draconic Savitar, but the mighty beast, with his fist covered in fire, struck back, causing the arm of the monster to shatter like glass. In pain and sorrow, the monster let out a howl. As the beast, shining bright like the stars in the night, the king of ice shouted, with fear and pain, "What are you?" Savitar rose high above the monster, looking down upon the tyrant. With no pity for his evil choices, Savitar roared his final words at the monster. "I am fire. I am light." With a fighting breath, Savitar shot forth a wave of fire, lightning, and light. As the wave approached, time seemed to slow for the monster, and what he saw, as if for a moment he could see a being made of pure golden light, larger than the earth itself, behind Savitar as he breathed his powerful breath. The trinity of energy pierced the ice. With one final cold breath, the king of ice was reduced to ice, to water, to air. The tyrant's reign was at an end, and all in an instant the clouds cleared away, the warm air returned, and the ice began to melt. Savitar landed, clad once again in his humanoid form, as men, women, and children rushed to him. They circled him, almost falling to their knees, and cheered at him. Savitar looked over the people as they praised him. His unseen lips were smiling. As Savitar left the kingdom, Garrett was king again, and under his rule, Beowulf returned stronger than ever. And before Garrett's age came to collect him, and his son, Jacob, took over, in the middle of the city, In the middle of the streets, a symbol of a draconis was carved, with the words Savitar said as he left to continue his quest to battle evil, his final lesson: fire is light, light is hope.